So I'm here to talk about my holes of happiness. I started this project a few years ago and it's been blossoming ever since. I'm from Australia and I've been here for about 8 years, and I'm indeed from the bush capital, from Canberra, where space is definitely not an issue. And one thing that I just haven't got used to in London is the lack of space. And I'm a keen gardener and I live on the first floor of a small flat in East London with no garden. So I've taken my gardening antics to the street. Now, guerrilla gardening's been around for a long time. And one of the first examples, and one of my favourite examples that I know about, is when the wives of servicemen in the First World War would go out and they'd plant seeds along the train tracks. So when their husbands were coming back from the war, there were flowers by the rail side, which is a really, really nice idea, and I think that's what guerrilla gardening is all about. But my gardens are on a lot smaller scale. I use potholes as my canvas, and I create my little gardens. And here is one of my little gardens in Selby Street in East London, and I create my gardens on dead-end roads, cul-de-sacs, and primarily on the sidewalk. But this garden is called the Confused Garden, and you can see I've created a little road in the pothole, and I've included a little warning sign for the pothole that's in the road, that's in the pothole on the road. So it's called the Confused Garden for a reason. I also create gardens to celebrate events and things that are going on. And this is a garden I created for the first day of Wimbledon. And I used a miniature net, and if you're going to play tennis, you need tennis rackets. And as any keen gardener knows, if you've got grass, you need a mower. I've also worked with a bunch of charities, and this is one of my favourite, the People's Trust for Endangered Species. And they've got this fantastic project where they encourage people to make hedgehog-friendly gardens, doing things like planting the right plants and also making little holes in your fences so the hedgehogs can run between people's yards. And so I created this little garden to help give them some exposure, and lo and behold, a little hedgehog came along. Now, also, I create my gardens in reaction to events that are going on. And just after the riots, I decided that London needed a little bit of love. So in my own unique way, I created my Love London garden in Shoreditch. And what was really nice about this garden was this older gentleman who came along and he said, what are you doing? And I explained, I'm making a pothole garden. And he was quite taken aback. He said, why are you doing it? So I started to explain, and we had this really great dialogue, and we chatted about the riots, and he started thinking about things that he could do to show London some love. And it's these reactions that keep me going. I recently went to India, to Bangalore, and I created a garden complete with a little tuk-tuk. And the locals, I got the usual reaction, what are you doing? But we couldn't actually speak to each other because they couldn't speak English. So we kind of communicated through smiles and laughing, and it was really nice. And I still to this day wonder what they're telling their friends. It's crazy Australian. And these are some other reaction shots from my gardens around London. I recently made a short documentary called Holes of Happiness. And what we did is we set out to investigate people's reactions to what I was doing. I wanted to get to the bottom of what people thought about my gardens, but also to understand what they were thinking about why I was doing them. And here's a very short excerpt from that documentary.
Well, we walked along the street and we came across a little rose garden, very small.
Some compost and some flowers in the pavement. Doesn't make me feel bad, so it's a positive feeling.
All right, when I saw the plant, I did like it. Yeah, nice color, and that's how I want to take it. I want to take it to my house.
It's quite unusual because East London is very concretey, So when I saw it, I was quite surprised.
It brightened up our day a little bit because it is quite grey today, and the red of the flowers was really nice. I did want to touch it.
What have you got there? You've got a is that a hyacinth? It's a hyacinth.
And some snowdrops and
Lovely, lovely. Well, that's a bit of a change.
First of all, I thought it was natural, so I thought, well, that's really interesting, like the way nature finds its way, even in the urban world.
Though I did wonder whether maybe it just cropped up of its own accord, which was a nice thought, but possibly not the most realistic.
It is very pretty, and I hope it'll be left there, that they won't go over it with their flippant car.
I don't think the length of the life of the garden would be the problem. I suppose it would be more the way it might meet its end. So if it was going to be constantly run over by cars, it would be a little bit sad, I suppose.
Well, at least we can see it. It's more visible when you're driving or anything. Yeah.
I think a better way of highlighting a pothole would be a big lump of something really nasty. Flowers, don't think flowers would work, mate. We need metal spikes and chains for London. Flowers won't work.
So you might think the bus driver is the pothole gardener's enemy number one. But once we saw him and we caught it on film, taking my little garden into his bus. And we approached him and we said, hey, what are you doing? You know? He said, oh, I just love this. This made me so happy and I wanted to take it back to my family. And that was an unexpected reaction. I wasn't expecting him to steal my garden. But it was kind of okay. And we talked to him about the project a little bit more, and I explained what I was doing. And it was his decision to put the garden back. So that was really nice. And the older lady up the top, she's promised to keep looking after the garden, which is very nice. Although I can't say that I really like the dog's reaction. So people often ask me about the police. And I haven't actually encountered the police on one of my gardening escapades until recently, when I was gardening outside the Ministry of Defence. And I was creating a garden to celebrate the first day of spring, so I decided to recreate the London Eye, replacing pods with pots. And as we were gardening away, this policeman came along with all this bravado. What are you doing? You know, you can't garden here. And I said, why not? So we started talking about it, and once I explained what I was doing, I was recreating the London Eye in a pothole garden, replacing the pods with the pots. He just loved it, and he said, you know, I don't have a garden, I'd love to garden. And maybe, you know, he said, maybe I'll give it a shot. So that was a really nice turnaround, I thought. So I've talked about all these reactions to my little gardens and how different people sort of work through why they're there and what they're doing. And so I thought today I'd create a little pothole garden for you guys. Thank you. So why am I doing what I'm doing? I talked about, you know, I'm from Australia and I've lived here for 8 years, and I find it difficult on the streets in London because people always want something from you. They want me to sign up to a charity and give them money, or someone's just asking for money, or they're trying to sell me something. And what I'm trying to do is create these little moments of happiness to remind people to take a little bit of time. They don't have to get there in a hurry. You know, London can be quite grey, especially around East London, and I'm trying to create these little bright moments of happiness. Thank you very much.